count us down.
3, 2, 1. Close enough.
Perfect. So welcome everybody once again to another episode of the Aftermath podcast. I'm joined today with Michael and Sky of the OKC Oklahoma City Chargers.
OKC.
OKC
Chargers,
okay,
yeah.
my bad.
The font is very small in this rundown. That's my fault.
I'm Canadian. Obviously, I didn't know that Oklahoma had a Kate in there, so that's my bad. I'll quickly just let people know me. I've been here since the first episode, but I'll quickly let everyone kind of have a chance to introduce themselves because you guys are some new faces to the show today. Michael, would you like to start as my co-host for today?
So this is my first episode co-hosting. You've probably heard my name in the past. I'm in the chat producing. I am content director for Aftermath Esports. So I have a hand in all the podcasts you see. I help with the rundowns, and I'm the man behind the curtain, I guess, but stepping out for the first time as a host. Happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. Sky?
My name is Sky, or formerly known as Lethal Bear throughout my competitive Call of Duty days, as well as Wild Bear during the Wild Gaming era during 2013 and 2012. But everyone knows me as Sky or Bobby throughout the scene. A little bit about myself. I've been competing for about 9.5 years from the start of MW2 to retiring after Infinite Warfare. I just could not deal with any more jetpack games. AW is my jetpack game that I excelled at, and I had the most success in AW, but as far as having that consistently year after year and not getting a boots on the ground game, and then when we finally do, it was not very good. It was time to call it. But I've been doing the management and behind the scenes with podcasting and media for either sports teams or Oklahoma City Charge, which is one of my newer projects.
Nice. Well, super happy to have you. And can we just take a moment? I don't know if this is like an appropriate space to do this, but Michael is now one of the co-owners of Aftermath, so big shout outs to him really quickly here.
Yeah, how does it feel? Is it a different
journey.
airspace than you, brother?
No, I mean, I when I was talking to Karmy about it, I was saying, like, I don't want things to change, like, I'm happy to step up if you need me to, but, like, I don't want to step on toes. I want to keep doing what we're doing. It feels like we're trending in a good direction. I don't want to, like, disrupt any of that, so I'm happy, and I love Aftermath, and I want to take it to the top, but business as usual, we just keep pushing forward.
Sort of business as usual. And with that too, like everyone here knows Aftermath, but everyone listening might not know the Oklahoma City Chargers. So Sky, do you want to talk about a little bit like what that is?
The organization in Oklahoma City Chargers, it's more so a lot of people feel like we just sprung out of nowhere in December, and you could theoretically on paper that's how it looked. But the production of Oklahoma City Chargers drove back to early 2018 with Solar Selection. Solar Selection was the original project that myself, Chase Campbell, who has his history, I'll give a little bit about himself in a bit, but it really originated with me and him starting the organization Solar Selection with another woman in the COD scene known as TQ. I'm going to give her flowers because she helped really establish Solar Selection and S3 during that period of time, and we was able to establish a competitive Call of Duty team, one of which was captained by Ice Mixie, who was formerly on Minnesota Rocket as a competitive Warzone streamer. She was our captain for about 6 months. They went to CWL Anaheim, placed top 48 and got beat by Mind Freak in open bracket. We did also have a Rocket League team that placed third in a Spain semi-professional event overseas. So we had early success there, but really what closed the doors for Solar Selection was the pandemic. During that period, myself and Chase kind of had a heart-to-heart whether or not we was going to retire. At me, this is going on like year 10 for me being in esports after competing. So I was looking like, am I going to transition over? Chase was feeling the same way. We didn't want to look like we wanted to do a round three of creating an organization based off of how much it was taking just to keep S3 alive during the period of the pandemic. So we took a backseater. We decided to come back to the esports scene with Skycast, which was a podcast originated during that period. We started working with the likes of Heat Check Gaming, Energy FC, which is a professional soccer club within the city. Heat Check Gaming is Miami Heat's 2K League team. We started working with them doing professional takes, started getting bringing in some amateur talent from the 2K League scene, some amateur talent from F1. Like we was bouncing around doing a lot of takes and doing a lot of leagues and work. Just on the podcast, trying to be able to spread light on amateur talent that I knew as a player was very hard to market yourself. So with me having the platforms, me being in the space that I was, instead of just selling my accounts and just going on doing something else, I decided I wanted to be able to use my platforms to highlight talent that was really like like I said, competing on a high level and marketing on a high level is very difficult. So, and a lot of competitive players can tell you, like, they have to stop doing some of their YouTube stuff because they have to focus in on just keeping their skills intact. So, I wanted to be able to shine light on, some amateur talent during that period. So, that was what originated the podcast. And obviously, we was doing a lot more work going into 2021, 2022, building connections. And at the time, I was working with Liquid. And I enjoyed my entire process with Liquid, but I started to grow the feelings of wanting to own an organization again. Like that was where it originated.
Yeah.
And so that
What were you doing with Team Liquid?
I
Out of
was
curiosity.
actually over their marketing department. I was focused down on social analytics. I was bringing in sponsors. I was just doing those sort of things, behind the scenes work. Liquid is heavy in the 2K scene. There, I give them their flowers. They're one of the best damn 2K teams I've seen in a long time. They've shown their dominance on LAN. Roy, who is the head coach over at the Raptors, I give him nothing but his flowers because he gave me the opportunity to work underneath him. And it was a pleasure during the year that I was there with them. I had a chance to be able to meet a lot of different people and connections. Some of the connections actually work with me under Oklahoma City Chargers. So it was like I said, I give Roy his flowers, and there's no like the departure between them was more so of a handshake. Like I'm getting back to what I love doing, and you're continuing what you're doing as well. So and I made that decision in July of 2022. I just, like I said, that home feeling of me wanting to create that organization again, plus the fact that I wanted to tie the podcast that I was currently doing with the project I was working with. I didn't want to have two separate entities. I wanted to have it in one. And so that was where it was steering towards. So with Oklahoma City Chargers, it was, like I said, built from almost 3.5, 4 years of just development, not only from solar selection, but the podcast of Growing Connections. And then December 5th of last year, we originated and launched with our branding and ideas intact. And we already had a general idea of what market we was wanting to hit. We already had established scene because we had deep connections in 2K. I feel like we have probably one of the best damn 2K staff on paper that's on an amateur level. Because we have, before he got his head coaching position, we had Coach Juice, who is currently the head coach of Team Dux Infinitus, who won the 3v3 Open Championships. They just won the playoffs recently, so they're now in the 5v5 scene, but they just won their 3v3 league for the 2K league. So Coach Juice got brought on, and then we have our esports director Lay, who has experience playing for the Boston Celtics 2K League team, and we also brought in Lauren, who currently work with, which is the Heart Crushers 2K team, who have strong success on LAN as well. So we brought in very experienced 2K League staff members because that was where we had our deep connections in, and then that's where we grew. I recently, when we peeled into Apex, it was more so Lay. Lay was very interested in wanting. I'm gonna give her credit. She was very interested. Like, hey, Sky, I want to get into Apex. Like, Apex is really growing. Like, and that's where the thought got in. And like, as soon as we mentioned Apex, I don't know, like if it was coincidental or it was fate, but we somehow, some way, me and Reezy connected. And then I met up with Reezy, and she's been a godsend to Oklahoma City Chargers. I'm not gonna lie to you. Easy.
No, I see her all over your Twitter. It seems like she's doing great work.
She's been a godsend to the Chargers. She brings a lot of experience, talent, and and the Apex department. Without her, I don't think it will be run functional. She's very, very dedicated to what she's doing for her ladies, and our ladies has been performing very well. So the Chargers, like, that's how. Yeah, it's shown. We've been getting some established coaching. We've been trying to make sure that they're staying consistent, being in competitions and scrims, and overall, like, not just the Apex department. 2K has been really established. Like, we have been bouncing around, but we finally have a solid threes team that we're going to be competing for the open stuff for next season. We're getting established with our fighters here locally, so like we're setting our roots in a few places and seeing how luck draws out for us. But I'm happy that overall that we had a chance to be able to grow in this way. It's very difficult, and a lot of people are like, how are we taking it? Like, and I just say it's you have to be consistent. You can't get complacent. Like, for me, the biggest goal for me, I've been on a higher platform during the peak. I had an MLG.TV channel, so for me, I understood where that limelight is. You can't let that get to you, because during that period, I could have capitalized when I had Clear Enemy and had that MLG channel in 2015. I did it. You know what I mean? Because I was just so blinded by that, so blinded by everything. This time around, like, all this limelight, I'm used to it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm telling you. Don't allow, like, the distractions, because the distractions is going to be there. Let's just get to work. Let's continue being consistent, and let's continue showing what we're able to do. Because yes, one weekend we can be the very best, but we can be forgotten in esports the very next weekend, just like that.
Yeah. You said something earlier. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh yeah, and like with that too, like leading into like advice that you could give to someone wanting to like be in esports, like what's one key piece of advice that you would like want to give them?
I would say patience. I tell everyone this. Patience. When you think about, and I'm not just saying 1 year, 2 years, I'm talking about patience when it comes to what you're wanting in esports and being realistic with your goals. I'm going to give some good examples. Like, patience is like APG on Optic. How long did it take for him to get his world championship? 14, 15 plus years?
Yeah, that's my guy.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, how many years it took to him to get his world championship in Halo? That alone. I'm a big Optic fan. How long did it take us to break that streak and that drought? I've been an Optic fan since Big Timer. I'm not none of these new Optic fans. I'm talking about Rambo, Ray, Big Timer. Like, I'm an OG Optic fan. You know? Yeah, since day one. Since we was a sniping team. You know what I mean? So how long did it take us to get our world championship? We had a dynasty, but it took us 3 long years to break that drought in IW. You see what I'm saying? Like, patience. And like, this goes from across the board. Like, for me, I'm so overwhelmed with how much success Oklahoma City Chargers has, because it feels like the patience that I've waited so long, it's finally paying off. And this is on 13 years. Like I said, I've been here 13 years and counting. That's a long time. That's my whole childhood. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I didn't give up, and that's going over adversity. That's being, gatekeep. That's being going through so many different obstacles in a very tough crowd. Patience. And that goes for anything. If you want this, if it's whether it's you being a player, whether it's being a content creator, whether it's you getting in management, patience. Because some people it's not going to happen overnight. It's not. Like, if you want to get another example, how long did it take? Ninja had to switch games. Ninja didn't start in Fortnite. Ninja didn't start in Fortnite.
No,
you know what I mean? He started in Halo.
Straight ripping back in the day.
He had to switch games to get there. You know what I mean? So it's just like...
Yeah, he was knocking at the door forever of winning championships. And then,
Yeah, and even like Tens was struggling in like the semi-pro scene in Counter-Strike, just surfing on like Cloud9's like webtails. He switched over to Valorant and he became like a superstar overnight.
And it's just like,
I mean, he basically is the Sentinels organization at this point.
And it's just like, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of people like, and what I mean by that is you're going to overcome adversity and it's all about like, and I tell some of the guys in the 2K scene because there's a really good example, and I'm gonna give him a shout out. His name is Bag Motion. He is I would say he's a key focal point on that Pistons GT roster. But when I say patience, the man is very patient on what he did. He grinded out. It didn't matter what league it was in. It could have been the lowest league of the leagues. He played them just because he got the experience. He put in his VODs. He played consistently, overcame adversity, lost to people, but he still got drafted. A lot of people, like in 2K, I'm just going to be honest, there's the point where you get drafted. It's just like the NBA. There's a draft process. And if you don't get called by any other 2K League teams, a lot of people stop grinding as soon as the 2K League draft, so because it's called post-draft. But Bag Motion, he didn't stop grinding when he wasn't called the last year. He continued grinding in the post-draft. And that's what a lot of those coaches started to see. You see what I'm saying? And that's the exact same thing for any postseason. Like when the game dies out, there's postseasons for COD. When after COD champs, that's roster mania. That's when you see all the roster changes. And
Yep. We're in
the middle of that
right now.
Like you seeing people talk about it right now, and like and the biggest thing that a lot of people want to do is change up their teams, change up their formulas, and you don't understand like chemistry is not grown overnight. You have to be realistic with your goals and what this team can achieve, and then be okay with where your level is at. Because it's all about building confidence. Like if your skill is there, it's about building confidence. A confidence team on LAN is a complete monster. And I'm going to say this, like a good example is Enigma 6 AW. Like they was a complete nobody team. No one knew Enigma 6 during that bracket, but they was the only team in open bracket to climb all the way in open, go into pool and play Optic Dynasty. The Optic Dynasty, you can look it on YouTube. They lost to them, but for an open bracket team to make it that from Friday to Sunday, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of games. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a grind.
That's a grind. Yeah.
And so like I'm just saying, like I tell everyone, be patient on what you want. It's gonna come. You know what I mean? Like you have to if this is what you want to do. And sometimes it's not going to be in the game that you're wanting to do. Like you said, sometimes you have to switch it up. Don't be scared to switch it up. Don't be afraid to like, oh yeah, like COD has not been my thing for 8 years. Like I'm gonna be honest, I was in COD 9 years. 9 years, I was pushing that doorstep, trying Lethal Gaming, Apotheon, Wild Pro. I was pushing the doorstep, and then I switched over to 2K. Instantly, the door opens.
Yeah.
That quick. And I'm not even as a player, just instantly I'm talking to professional. Never been in that crowd before. After 9 years. So it's just like, it could be, don't be, and I was scared to switch to go to 2K. I didn't know very much about the 2K scene. I did my homework, but I was scared to switch over. So I'm going to say patience and don't be afraid to make different decisions because it's going to happen. Sometimes one game might not be it for you. You might have to switch it up.
Let's take this to like the organizational level, right? Because I think a lot of esports orgs are leaving games, laying off staff right now. It feels like a sort of a down period for just the business of esports. Do you think some of that patience you talk about on like an individual level needs to be extended to orgs?
Without a doubt. You can't like and the thing like I'm going to give like some CEOs that I feel like obviously I'm going to go with the people that I think has the most patience. I'm going to say 100 Thieves. Nadeshot has a lot of patience with JCap. You see what I'm saying? Because everyone was like, if you look at like before 100 Thieves won, LA Thieves won their COD championship, JCap was going through the blender. Oh, JCap needs to be fired. They need a new staff. They need to rotate their team. And the entire year he kept the same roster. Patience. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to be able to like if you're not able to overcome and trust your guys to do their job through the baddest of times. They're not gonna go out and fight for you. That's like me. That's like my head coach chalking it at halftime. I'm a sports guy, so that's like my head coach going off into halftime. We're getting our ass kicked. Excuse my language. We're getting our ass kicked, and he's telling us, "Oh, you chalk and put your helmet up." What? No, I need you to hype me up so I can go out here and be a warrior for you. I'm not gonna stand on this fucking pitch and you're not. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go out and do your dirty work and you're not back. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying with a lot of the organizations is that they give up on their teams too easy. One bad performance and they're easily wanting to wash their hands with, oh my God, it's not. No. How are they supposed to learn if you're not willing to back them? You know what I mean? Like you have to trust in the process. You have to. Like it's difficult. And esports, it's fine. Like if it can be pricey. I'm not gonna lie, on an organization standpoint, I get it. It can be very pricey to trust the process, but sometimes you trust the process, it will reap its rewards. You know what I mean? It'll come in time. But like a lot of people can't wait that time, and I understand if you have to make a business decision immediately. You know, if it's something that comes up, sure. But if you have the opportunity to trust in a team that you feel that is knocking on the door, I feel like you have to give that time, because it will just be your luck that you release that roster or you release that content creator. He goes on and signs to the next person, and just then he figures out what the hell was going on, and then you just lost the greatest talent that your organization could have probably brewed, just like that. And I've seen it happen in multiple cases where, prime good example, you know, Seattle getting ready to lose Pred to Optic. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's another one.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you know your COD, like it's just like that. So I feel like you have to be able to trust in the process, trust in the people that are doing their jobs, because they're doing their jobs for a reason. And if you don't have that, like esports, you have to have a very, like, I'm going to be honest, being on the organization level, you have to have very high level of patience. Because you're not going to see earlier, like most of, like, you can go look on YouTube, Ludwig, some of these guys that are actually on it, they'll tell you you're gonna go broke really fast, easily. But it's going to, like, for me, like, I don't look at it financially. Like, this is a passion. I love the atmosphere. I love the crowd. I've been around sports crowds all my life. So when I look at esports, I look at it as a sports club. Like I said before, I look at it like it's the same way. You're salarying players, you're getting coaching for the players, you're making sure the players are okay, you're taking them out to events, you're financing them in hotel. It's the same way as what I did if I was on a pitch and they was providing for me there. So I love the atmosphere. I love the team camaraderie about esports. I love the backstage, the vibe. That's why I'm doing this. Financially, like, yeah, it might, but for me, this is a hobby. This is something I enjoy doing. And that's something that a lot of people come into this thinking it's a quick buck. It's not a quick buck. It's damn near like stocks. I'm gonna be honest. It's not a quick buck. It's like, if you want to do this, you want to do this because you love to do it. Don't come in here thinking that, oh, I can throw in a few $1,000s on a team and I can make money. No, it's not that easy, buck. Sometimes you can strike gold, yes, but it's a 1 in 100 times that you're gonna strike gold just coming in and thinking you're gonna throw money at a team and they're gonna immediately be successful.
So something I feel like I've noticed recently is orgs shifting away from the esports and competitive side of the industry and going more towards content creation and signing on content creators. What do you think the future looks like for esports? You mentioned 100 Thieves, and I know they continuously picking up content creators that do in real life content and stuff like that. How do you balance that?
I feel like it comes down to, personally, I feel like what really is killing the esports side of things, and the reason why a lot of the organizations are bringing in creators, is because of the franchising. Because you think about it, like, franchising is, like, in certain cases, like COD, Overwatch, they're limiting a lot of marketing and ways of branding. You know what I mean? They're restricting certain access, and especially in the CDL. Like, I can go for days on how badly the CDL is structured. How can you have city-based organizations and there's no home series at all? They started the home series, but what's the point of having a venue and you can't market around your city? And you see what I'm saying? If you're not a big name already, you're basically failing in those cases. And that's what I see in these franchising. Like, that's what's really killing. I'm going to be honest. That's what's killing esports, in my opinion. Like, the franchising, like
I agree
franchising,
yeah.
and especially the buy-in to get into these leagues is ridiculous. The buy-in to get into these leagues and the amount that you're getting back, that's what's killing. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to be investing that much, you can invest into probably 5 or 6 really solid content creators and profit. You see what I'm getting at? And that's how some of these organizations are looking at.
Yep.
Like, if I'm going to buy a 3.5 million team pass buy-in for the CDL or whatever the case it is, and I'm taking plus salaries on the players, right, and I'm taking venue costs or whatever, because I have to have a venue and everything else. Mind you, I'm not able to use a venue. I can't afford a home series, and I have to use the minimum wage of the league. What? That's the worst CDL team right now. You can't. Yeah. If you get doing home series, bringing in fans, where's the profit in there? You're just losing money, running out the door. So it's just like, of course they're like,
and I think a lot of
franchising is really hurting. Because back then, like when there was no franchising, it was CWL, teams could still market in their ways. They could still do it outside of, the general rule list. You see what I'm saying? But with franchising and city-based organizations and stuff, it's different. And the way they're gatekeeping on how organizations can market and be able to avenue a network for their teams, it's difficult, very difficult.
Yeah, and I think a lot of thing too that orgs have forgotten is that like the reason why there's so many viewers is because a lot of these players and teams came from nothing, just like everyone else, and they grinded and they worked hard to get to where they are, and it's not because some org bought them a place into that league. Like they grinded
and
for
that's
that
the
spot,
thing, like,
and it creates hope, and it makes it more fun to watch.
That's the reason why, like, I can actually agree with you, like, to be able, you don't understand I've been in that process because I was on the amateur team when Lethal Gaming secured their CWL spot. You see what I'm saying? Like, to be in the atmosphere of doing so it's the grind. Like, you're 100% correct on that. Like, I love that the when there was no franchising where a team could be able to earn their league spot and not just buy into it, because it seems like the buy-in process, you're getting low quality matches for the league that's buying in. Point blank, you see the teams that are buying into this, they're not competing on the same level as a high level amateur team who deserves that spot. And because they don't have their organization, or they're not, well known, or the organization doesn't have the buy-in to get into that league, they're gatekeeped out.
Yeah, and then with Valorant too, like when I don't know much about the COD scene aside from like some of the stuff that we talked about, but I know with Valorant, when they introduced franchising, there were a ton of teams that people were like, they deserve to be there more than X, Y, and Z deserve to be there, because like Shopify, when they didn't get into the franchising, their team was like smoking everyone that's in franchising, and unfortunately, like with the franchising, they had to like release their players, and it just made it for like a really sad situation to watch. And I don't really like watching Valorant esports anymore, because I know there are other teams that deserve to be there.
Yeah.
So what was that with Valorant? I don't really watch Valorant competitively. Was it just not a name brand, so they just don't get in?
No, you guys know Shopify Rebellion,
I know Shopify,
right?
but yeah.
So there's like orgs that bought in, like EG and stuff like that, and like EG, like don't get me wrong, they've grinded a lot now, and I think they do deserve to be there. But
they just make finals or something too?
But they grinded for that for sure. But they bought that spot and took it over like after roster changes and everything. But Shopify, like when franchising was being introduced to Valorant, they were like smoking everybody. And they tried really hard to get into franchising to give their players an opportunity to keep going, but they just got outbought. So it was like super unfortunate to see that.
Yeah.
And like I honestly think that first season of VCT, after the franchising was introduced, the quality of plays was you could see it. It was like night and day. So the teams that were there, like Sentinels or whatever, they were like smoking all the people that were bought in until they finally made roster changes and grinded it out until it's now a little bit more even. But I think it was a lot more fun to watch like small orgs like Shopify go and tackle like the bigger dogs and take them down. Like those matches were the most exciting.
Like, that's something, like, just in general, it brings the atmosphere, because like honestly, that's where I found the most enjoyment in watching esports, is when I seen a team, small crowd, they don't have many fans, but their friends is probably the loudest. You see what I'm saying? And seeing their team excel, and then their small crowd rallying behind their team, like and beating this, like, they're the underdogs in the venue, but beating those odds, it's a spectacular moment. It's those Cinderella stories that we talk about. And for me, being an analyst and a caster, I love watching that in any type of sports setting. If you ask me for an NBA series, you will never hear me say I want to hear a sweep. I want a game 7 and I want it tight. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, so no, I got you.
For me, like, I love seeing good, just overall good gameplay, high competitive atmosphere. But you're completely correct. Like, it's sad when I can say I know probably 4 challengers teams that can probably beat multiple of the CDL rosters. You know what I mean? And that just goes without saying. You know what I mean? And they're not getting opportunities. And I would say, like, franchising and just in general, they need to if they're going to have franchising and have like high level league and high level pay, they need to be able to open it up to where there's an open qualifier potentially. Like, I'm not saying throw the idea, yeah, you can buy your spot, but have an open qualifier for teams like amateur teams to earn a selected spot that they don't have to buy if they can't afford that cost. Because right now it's just gatekeeping. Like, if you don't have the investors or the money to push that wall to get that pass, you're not getting in. No matter how talented or skilled the players is on the team, which forces the organization to have to sell their players because the players are wanting to get into those leagues. And if you're in an organization standpoint, it's kind of hard to keep players that talented, like, without bigger orgs being like, hey, I can buy them out anyway, you know, like, theoretically. So it's just like.
So we had a conversation in our Aftermath Discord the other day, and Aaron, I'm not sure if you saw this, about the idea of introducing promotion relegation into esports.
Yes.
And I know, Sky, you're a football guy, right?
Yes.
What do you think of that? Like, let's use the CDL as an example, right? You have your teams that are in that top tier, and then you have the Challengers League as an official second league with the promotion relegation between them. Do you think that would work?
100%.
I come from a Siege background, and Rainbow Six Siege, that's exactly how they do their esports thing.
Oh,
So
really?
they have like their pro level, and then they have their challenger level, and in between the seasons they have what they call relegation. So it's like a final tournament for challenger players to kind of get into that pro scene, and the pro players that are, or the pro teams that are on toward the bottom of the rankings, they have to fight and keep their spot.
That's relegation. Yeah,
So
that's fine. Yeah.
And the relegations when I was playing competitive Siege was the most fun Siege esports I've ever watched, and it was probably the most watched, I would argue, in terms of viewership for Siege, because that was the most exciting. Are you gonna see, you know, your big teams keep their spots, or are these underdogs that no one's ever heard of gonna take it from them?
Having something on the line.
Like, that's the biggest thing for me. Like, I would say, being a football guy, the relegation system, honestly, is very, very well structured. It's a competitive atmosphere. It also, like I said before, it allow if you add the relegation system to esports, it allows, and like the challengers, I'm going to use CDL, it allows those amateur teams to earn their spot without having that paywall. It's just like, and here's the thing, like, a lot of people don't like. I'm an MMO guy. It's like pay to win currently right now with franchise. If you don't have the money, you don't get in. And then no matter how much talent you have, if you just don't have the money to keep up with everyone else, you're just gonna get outbought. So it's just like, in my personal opinion, if they added that gateway to where, okay, we can allow two teams that are not paying this friend, like, what's going to hurt two underdog teams entering the league? And here's the thing, if they don't successfully defend their spots, they can get relegated in the next season, you know what I mean? But at least they have the opportunity to play in the league. You see what I'm saying? That's fair. But now, like, you think about it, the storyline of a team that gets promoted and then stays in the league the next season, now that's good to watch. I'm going to be watching those relegated teams. Like, the teams that just got promoted, they're the most watched teams. You know why? Because now everyone wants to know, are they going to get relegated? Are they going to stay in? That's a storyline and a half to work. You see what I'm saying? And like, people are going to tune into their match.
Or we get a Leicester City.
Yeah.
We get a Leicester City.
Yeah, you know? That's sadness.
Yeah. It's sad now, but like that idea of like a relegated team after a year or two being able to win the entire thing and upset like an Optic.
It's also the same thing. Let's go for Valorant for having relegation. Like during the period that Sentinels was the strongest. Imagine them being at the bottom of the table. And imagine that storyline.
Barely even have to.
You know what I mean? Just imagine that storyline. Them getting relegated. You know what I mean? Or an Optic Gaming getting relegated. That storyline would be huge. Optic being relegated out of the Pro League, never being seen before. Come on. Like, I'm sorry, like, that type of stuff, like, I would definitely agree with. Like, I would watch it, I'll tune into it. It wouldn't matter where, like, I'll pull it up. Because that's much watch TV, especially esports. You're not gonna see any better competitive matches because something's on the line for both sides. No team wants to get relegated. But like, I do think if they create a relegation system, they would have to make it to where the promoted teams or organizations get some type of incentive or bonus, some type of something. You see what I'm saying? Because that's how it is in the Premier League. Like, you see, like, if you get promoted from the championship, you immediately get, like, you know, a tremendous amount of money or whatever, like something like a little bonus for entering the league, because the fact that now, because obviously the the viewership and stuff is different in comparison to the leagues and stuff like that.
TV
So it's
deals,
just like
yeah.
it can go that route, but I know right now currently esports needs something to mitigate the franchising. If not, it's just going to be very difficult. Like I feel like the only reason why some of these esport events um or leagues is actually actively running is because they're allowing watch parties. To be all honest,
Yeah. Yep.
and the creators are
So I know you're a big
really caring it. I said that I feel like the
Go ahead.
creators are really caring and watching them, like the watch parties. Prime example, like Scump's podcast and all, like the Flank, and there's a lot of podcasts that like literally carry the weight on why people watch the league currently. So
I know Tarek in Valorant I think gets as many views as the main broadcast at this
Lord.
point.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
So I know you're a big Call of Duty guy. Have you played X
Oh my
Defiant yet?
lord, yes I have. I enjoy it.
What do you think? Do you think it's going to be a
I would
competitor?
say
Or
I
you
would
think
say
it's
it's not going to be a competitor. I feel like it's going to be its own entity. To be honest, it's I feel like
Yeah.
it's definitely going it's definitely going to draw the crowd because not only are you going to be fighting the competitors of like Call of Duty are going to be coming over, but because it's a Tom Clancy game. So obviously you got Siege guys that might be checking it
Yeah.
out, you know what I mean? So like you're gonna have a mixed crowd of Siege and COD, maybe some Halo, and you also know it's free to play on the market. So anybody who doesn't have a COD game that's not spending $70 on a COD game, they're gonna be tuning into that. You know what I mean? So they're going to have the player base. Um, they have a really smart developer with Aches who is very critical in the COD scene, big name, working how balancing and how the competitive scene is. You have big names like Scump and stuff like that saying high recommendations in the game. So I feel like it's going to be its own entity. It's going to be growing. They just don't need to be too late on introducing esports to the competitive crowd, and also make sure that they don't neglect the public crowd, because what Call of Duty did to the public crowd is made skill-based matchmaking, and it kind of killed the moment for anybody to go in to do like montages, sniping. That killed the scene because nobody wants to go into a sweaty ass lobby and try to hit and feed. It's difficult, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what killed why you don't see a lot of sniping montages or trick shots, because it's difficult to have those type of lobbies because of skill-based matchmaking in COD. So as long as they keep that free lobbies and normal play, and then skill-based matchmaking and ranked, and then make sure the balance changes and stuff, and make sure competitive is introduced, I feel like you'll definitely see X Defiant being like something to watch, because like just watching like the gameplay when they had it on the pro players playing it, it was highly competitive and it was fun to watch, without a doubt.
Yeah, and there's one thing that people don't know about Ubisoft as a developer, and coming from like that competitive side of Siege, and like being on the production side of a lot of it too, is that the thing with Ubisoft, and I hope this doesn't get me in any trouble, but I'm sure a lot of people are aware, and I'm sure even they're aware, but they design their games to die. All their games have an expiration date, and with Siege, during if anyone listening recalls, during Operation Health, so they released agents every operation or whatever. But Operation Health was the first time they didn't do it because they needed to go through and they needed to fix their code. Like it was designed, Siege was designed to fail. It was not designed to succeed. Right? It was supposed to have its big boom and then the game would die. But then they realized that there was so much success in keeping a healthy esport alive that they took Operation Health and they tried to like revive the game. But and that was like Ubisoft really showing like its face as a company. Hopefully they've changed their approach now, but that's like my experience with like that side of esports there with Ubisoft.
Yeah, I'm hoping more developers realize that esports is almost like an integral part of their game success at this point. Like it's such a good way to just publicity, like drawing eyes to your game in a competitive environment is only going to draw more players into it. And if you pay equal attention to both sides of the casual gamer and the professional gamer, it's only going to drive downloads, purchases, in-game markets, whatever, up, I would think. Sky, question for you. So internally, we've talked a lot about what games to try to enter as an organization, right? We look at X Defiant, we look at Stormgate, we look at I don't know if you are familiar with Wildlight Entertainment. It's a developer that split off from Respawn, Call of Duty, Activision. How do you, as an owner, decide like what games to enter, and are there any that are sort of catching your eye right
I
now?
would I
Or
would
OKC to enter?
say one, you have to take into consideration on something like I study a lot of Mark Cuban. I enjoy how he's able to establish what he did with his businesses. So I would say you need to know your market. You need to know the competitors in your market. You need to understand like, what is my chances of success rate being able to succeed with the current competitors here. That's something that I'll look into before looking in esports. Like when I first originated in esports for 2K, I knew I had the chance to connect to be able to be a top team. You know what I mean? So I knew that going into, even with 2K having its competitors and having people who have its history, I know I still could be able to compete in that level. So that's why I was able to enter, and feel safe while entering and being able to do what I did. Now that goes with, Apex. Apex is, one of my more, you know, community, like it was more of the community that pulled us into Apex. It was more like, hey, everyone was like, this is something that we were wanting to get involved in. It was fitting around what we was about. We had more Apex creators, content creators and stuff like that. So entering that was more so that. But like I really look into like I like to look at my success rate on how I can be able to excel within an esport. And then games, it also um I would say I like new titles preferably. The reason why I like new titles is because of the fact that it allows less of the gatekeeping for newer organizations to get their feet wet. Like, for if you're a new organization and you're trying to establish yourself within a scene, um, it's very smart to be able to obviously look at one game to really pursue and establish yourself there. But it's very difficult when the scene is fluctuated with a lot of high caliber teams, and obviously with more high caliber teams, meaning the salary of everything goes up. So having a new game that doesn't really have the firm feed or the optics or the luminosities or the cloud nines that's within the scene, it allows you to be able to go and market for some high level teams, compete on a high level, and reach some success to be able to open some doors from not in, investors coming in, some sponsors coming in because you done place well. It opens up a lot of doors and gives a lot of like younger esports their feet wet. Prime good example, like Pokemon Unite is a MOBA that's growing and has the second World Championship
Hmm.
coming up. Blackhand won the last one. You know what I mean? They got their feet wet. So it's just like they had a high level team, and then you see Luminosity just came into the scene. They're the only big name that just joined Pokemon Unite. So that's a game that other
Well,
than
other
us.
than you guys,
No,
didn't you
yeah,
just
we,
join
we
too?
joined too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say like I don't really consider us a big name yet because I haven't. I'm patient. I haven't like you guys might. Yeah,
Gotta manifest
like
that.
I feel like I haven't reached what I needed to reach just yet. So I'm not gonna get complacent. I'm not gonna look at
Okay.
being like, because I feel like there's big dogs above me still. So I'm just like, I'm gonna get there eventually. I will, but it all takes time. And I would say, yeah, like you have to just obviously you have to enjoy it. I wouldn't just say jump into any esport and you don't have your history on. You have to enjoy watching it, because if you don't enjoy watching that game, it's going to be hard for you to support the team. And that's difficult because the team will immediately know the disconnect. So I wouldn't just say, "Oh yeah, just because it's a new game, I'm going to jump in." And like, no, do your homework. If you don't enjoy watching it, I don't recommend it. But if you enjoy watching the gameplay, you enjoy being around it, and you can seriously play the game for about an hour a day or something like that, or hop on and play with your guys or whoever's on your team, then all for it. But you have to enjoy the game. You have to enjoy what the game is producing, and then I would say go for there. So like, some games that I would look into that a lot of people ain't touching base on, especially over in the NA side of things. I would say F1 is one of them. One second.
Yep. Yeah.
I would say F1 is one of them.
Do we lose Sky?
I'm not sure.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm sorry.
Let me Okay.
I was saying F1 is one of the games that I would say a lot of people are kind of neglecting, which is having a really established scene over on the EU side of things, but NA doesn't really have a scene for it. But I would say sim racing, F1 is really fun, highly competitive. In my personal opinion, after just watching some of the races for like PSGL or War or even the F1 Challenger Series, like there is some really talented individuals in that. It's very difficult sport to be in. Like if you ever been in a rig, like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I can do that. No, get you a racing wheel, get you a rig, and see how long you can be on that grid. And it's like 21 laps of doing the same thing, and then there's rules of racing. It's not like bumper cars either. You just can't go in and crash someone off. There's rules of racing, league rules, and stuff like that. So it's very challenging, and especially when you have to get your trials, the time sets, where you're placed at. It's once you understand F1, it's highly competitive. I think it's really good. Another esports scene a lot of people ain't really touching based on this, starting to show some thunder is the CHL, like hockey. NHL has got a little league
Yeah,
thing.
I've been talking about hockey
Yeah,
internally
like
for a little bit now.
hockey's growing rapidly with League Gaming, and Caps Washington hosting their the esports events in the 6v6 shell. And I would say, if you're a hockey fan, definitely look into League Gaming. League Gaming is where you can get the best NHL competitive experience by far. If you want an NHL competitive experience, if you want to feel like you're going through the draft, you're playing through, like, they have it to where the draft simulation, it's a draft league, and you have to earn your worth in that league. I'm not gonna lie, there's so many players in the NHL League Gaming League. It opens the door for anyone who's interested. I highly recommend it. I know the owner McDonald. They put together something great over there, and they're connected with a lot of the actual NHL teams currently and doing esport events and stuff like that. So they're really doing their thing there. I would say other games that you know I think people should get into that's a little new. Um, I would definitely recommend um, what is it? Mobile Legends, which is a mobile title. It's growing rapidly in name. They're having a lot of events. I would say if you're a huge Pokemon fan, the VGC scene is massive. Obviously, Street Fighter 6, pick up some of your fighters. FGC scene, um, definitely. Yeah,
There's a
Tekken
new
is coming
Tekken game
out too.
coming
Like
out too.
definitely, like I said, fighters especially. If you're new in an organization, it's a lot easier financing one person out to events and stuff like that, and then a
And a
whole
whole
team.
team,
So I'm
yep.
just saying, if that's what your budget is working with, look at the FGC scene. But yeah, I would say those are some games that I'm definitely, like I said, F1 is definitely something I'm looking at for sure. Um, because like I'm excited about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. PSGL has me excited. I really want to see some things going with F1, especially with the Challenger Series coming out again. So, also another one I would say FIFA Pro Clubs. Now, FIFA Pro Clubs is another one. 11v11
Oh,
FIFA.
okay.
I'm going to highlight it. FIFA Pro Clubs is definitely highlighted. If you want to get your best competitive experience for there, I highly recommend you go to VPG or VPG official on Twitter. They are the
Man, you know
Yeah, they're the
all the words
largest
and
pro clubs community in the scene. They have actual professional clubs like Villarreal and a few others that actually have 11 squads that's competing off in their Europa leagues and America leagues and stuff like that. So I highly recommend you guys go checking out VPG, because if you're interested in pro clubs, because I'm not a foot champs guy, like I don't play foot very much, but as far as pro clubs concerned, um, you can consider it a challenge. But I feel like I'm the best in that. Like I don't feel like there's not very too many people that I'm ranked in the top 100 as a goalkeeper on the NA side of things. I don't think anyone's scoring on me, point blank. So you can get your best striking boots on, because like you're gonna need them, because you're not gonna score on me. I'm gonna keep that clean sheet, that zero on, and that's how it's played out. But those are the games for me.
okay. All right, we got one more
Hmm.
question for you, brother. I sent it to you on Twitter. Was waiting for an answer back. We gonna see you at TwitchCon?
TwitchCon.
We gonna see the Chargers at TwitchCon?
TwitchCon. We've had a few members who said they was going to be trying to go out to TwitchCon. I have not confirmed which members just yet. But if we do have members going out, obviously we will make a social media post just like we did for DreamHack Dallas. Hopefully have a little gathering there, meet some people. It's just right now I'm going to say we're going to be we've been trying to like peek out some information. If you haven't seen my socials, I've been like who's going to be the next charge signing and stuff like that. So we're definitely
Mm-hmm.
going to be doing some things, and we're cooking up something special. But that's all I can really peep right now. Like we're definitely cooking up something. I'm like,
Okay.
but
Keep your
no, like
secrets.
I
Yeah.
would, I'm
You know,
definitely excited.
speaking of socials. Oh,
No, go
sorry, you
ahead.
can
No,
finish that thought.
you're good.
Speaking of socials, we do have to wrap up here. So where can people find OKC Chargers? What are the
Um,
links? What are the
well,
handles?
it gets real simple. OKC Charger all the way. It's just OKC Charger. No S. Just
Okay, okay,
simple, easy to remember.
okay. And then for yourself, you obviously need to give yourself a little shout out. Where can people, connect with you on
um,
those social media?
I'm just going to give like a little warning symbol. If you're a sports fan, you might not like my takes, but
Yeah, he's got some hot
yeah,
takes.
like
I've seen them.
I'm what you call a sports show. Like kind of get under like I ruffle some feathers for a good reason, but I do it all in good love and good faith. I never disrespect. But if you want to find me on socials, it's Skylala, SKYIALA. The I is capitalized, so it looks like an L. Big brains. Because the person who
Okay.
has my original tag has been inactive since 2013, and they have not gotten. Elian needs to hook me up with my tag, please. I need my tag. God, man.
You know, I feel that when I first joined Aftermath, we were trying to rebrand our social medias to be a little more reflective of what we wanted. Because as people know, right now our Twitter, Instagram is or our Twitter is at AME Socials, and Instagram as well. And we were trying to get Aftermath Esports, and the last time someone had been active with that handle was like
Oh my
2015 or something. It's been years.
Mm.
Yeah, it was terrible.
we need to like oh man, there needs to be an option of being able to recover tags. Like if someone hasn't been active in a certain period of time or it shows bot activity, like slide it over to the person who really needs it, you know what I mean? Tough.
Mm-hmm.
True. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today,
I
Sky. I
do
really
want.
appreciate that you
Can
took
I
the time
pitch
out of
in
your
one
day.
one key advice?
Oh yeah, for sure.
'Cause
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think I
Yeah.
I mentioned it before, but I don't think we got it in this one. But um, if I give one organization, any organization, any tips, and this just goes without saying, if what a player would need, I would say look into getting a sports psychologist. The mentals is really a key factor for players, the mental health for them, not just players, the content creators and staff. Like this is a stressful environment at times, especially when you're wanting to reach high levels and competing on a high level. It's very stressful. So having someone who can be able to go to regain and they're just having a bad day, you need someone to talk to. I highly recommend getting a sports psychologist on your team, your organization, to make sure everything is good because I see a lot of times burnout stuff like that, and it helps just knowing that your organization has someone who can be able to help you out.
Oh, that's
Good
actually
advice.
really good. Yeah, really solid advice. Um, yeah. So again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and join us today on our episode 4 of our podcast. Once again, we're with Sky of the OKC Chargers, and that is the Oklahoma City Chargers. Shout out Oklahoma City. I'm your host, Truonks, and joined by my co-host here, Michael.
Yep.
Um, and if you want to follow us on to find out more about our podcast and more about what Aftermath is doing, you can check us out on our website, aftermathesports.com. Also follow us on our socials at AME Socials. We
Follow
also
us
have
on
a TikTok
Spotify.
now, also on Spotify. Are we also on Apple or just
I
Spotify
think
for now?
we're wherever you listen to your podcast.
There you go.
Yeah.
Apple, Spotify, wherever you like to listen to your
Stitcher.
favorite podcasts. Check us out. Yeah, any closing remarks?
Nope. This was a lot of fun. I'm happy to have gotten you on
And
again, Sky. For those who don't know, we tried to record before and had some issues with audio. So this is our second go at this, and I think it went better than the first. I think it was a
And
great conversation,
I love what you
and I can't
guys
wait
are
for people
bringing.
to listen
Like,
to it.
I love everything about what Aftermath has brought. You know, like you guys have been really friendly to us since we've been in the Apex scene, and I really enjoy you guys' content. I'm a fan myself, so you guys keep up the good work. Like, I'm always gonna tune in, and I respect you guys heavily and what you guys are doing. And like, there's not a lot of respect between organizations in this crowd anymore. So like, you guys have gotten my respect, and I just hope you guys succeed on the same level as we used to.